Sueites came out to show their support for Terry Sheehan yesterday afternoon for the launch of his campaign office, which is at 485 Queen Street East. The Liberal MP is running for re-election in this year's upcoming federal election, set to take place on or before October 21st.
Please welcome me in raising everybody's hands and clapping for our Member of Parliament and 2019 Liberal candidate for Sault Ste. Marie, Terry Sheehan.
What we're doing today is we're launching our campaign office at 485 Queen Street, and you can tell that we have a standing room only is just packed in here today, and I'm so thrilled and pleased with the support that the community is showing here today for the work that I have done and for the work that I am committing to continue to do today. When I took office, or when I decided to run, the unemployment rate was high. There was a handful of people working at Tenaris. The steel industry had a dark cloud over it. In fact, it went into receivership, CCAA, Algoma Steel, just a couple weeks after I was elected. So over the last number of years, I worked significantly hard on those files because it's extremely important. It's 40% of our economy. That's 14,000 direct and indirect jobs are counting on 8,000 pensioners. We've also made significant investments of $106 million into Algoma Steel and Tenaris, and we're starting to see our friends and families being called back and hired again. But there's more work to be done, and particularly I was proud of is how we were able to rally everyone together and defeat those American tariffs. We had our counter tariffs, and our counter tariffs worked. We went dollar for dollar, toe to toe with them, and we stood our ground. Also, what I'm proud of is the amount of investments that I have been bringing in. Right after being elected, I met with the president of both the college, the university, and of the Anishinaabeg Discovery Center, and those particular people had put forward plans that they wanted to see growth within our post-secondary institutions, and I'm pleased to see that we have done significant investments and seen growth in our post-secondary institutions, well over $25 million. I think that there's still a major concern about going back to the dark days that they say. There's a lot of positivity. Yesterday I was at Algoma Steel's family picnic. It's the first time they've had a family picnic in 5 years, and there was so much positivity and so much smiles on people's face. For our youth, we've created a number of youth opportunities, including our Canada Summer Jobs, which have seen millions of dollars invested in the community.
We see the tree fell on the front of our house and the roof. It's kind of hard to go outside the front door because the branch all over it.
A storm with hurricane-force winds that hit the Maritimes left more than 400,000 residents without electricity as repairs began yesterday to downed power lines and buildings struck by splintered trees. The remnants of Hurricane Dorian has left large areas with downed foliage and flooding damage, while some streets saw more severe cases of uprooted trees toppled onto houses and cars. The worst gusts of up to 150 kilometers per hour came late Saturday before the storm carried on over southern New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and onto western Newfoundland.
Last night, lost power about 2 o'clock yesterday, been without power since. Windy, not as bad as Warren, it doesn't seem like. We lost a large limb off the tree in our front yard, just cleaning that up now. Back to normal today pretty much, except for the power loss. Basically it sounds like a train. It's just a constant rumble. With our trees here, every time the wind would gust, it would go from the trees looking normal to almost like collapsing like umbrellas. It was interesting. Sheets of rain, basically you can see the waves of rain coming down. Yeah, I mean, the noise is one thing you don't really expect, but the best thing I can use to describe it is it sounds like a freight train.
We heard lots and lots of wind. There's lots of trees across the street, and you can hear the wind pushing through them all, and it came in waves. And the worst of those waves was when you were nervous about things going, and eventually it did. This tree came down yesterday around 4 o'clock. That was when the winds were at their worst. We had lost their power, and I was watching the tree lean over pretty hard, and a short time later it went and pulled down.
Very few details are available about a single vehicle collision when a truck crashed into the mortgage center at Gore and Queen Street just after 1 Saturday morning. An on-TV viewer sent this photo in just after it happened, prior to emergency responders arriving on the scene. Owner Danny Alessandrini says emergency repairs have been completed, though, and it's business as usual. City Council will be asked to review alternatives for suite expansion at GFL Memorial Gardens at this evening's meeting. Now, this comes after a resolution was tabled to bring forward a plan to develop the additional box seats and investigate other potential sources of funding during a meeting back on December 11, 2017. Currently, the GFL can hold up to 5,000 people for hockey games and up to 6,500 for concerts and other events. When the GFL was constructed, it was built in phases with availability for suite expansion to be completed at a later date. Phase 2 planned for the construction of an additional 11 suites, and those suites were actually already sold and almost included in the construction of the building, but the cost became prohibitive. The deposits were returned, and there is now a waiting list for the suites. Phase 3 of the project would have seen the addition of a further 13 suites for a total now of 37. Construction of the Phase 2 and 3 suites has always been based on the assumption that the cost would be fully recovered from extra seat revenues without relying on general tax revenues. It was anticipated that NOHFC and Soo Greyhound participation would reduce the city's risk in proceeding. Analysis on the issue was provided to Council at a meeting on March 31st, 2008, based on a number of factors, including that the project be self-funded, a rejection from NOHFC, and an inability to reach an agreement with the management of the Soo Greyhounds. The project did not proceed. City staff has recently confirmed that the Greyhounds will not support the sharing of ticket revenue for suite expansion, but it will support a revenue stream to come directly to the city in the form of a rental fee for the boxes. The Greyhounds have offered to rent on the city's behalf, leveraging their community corporate sponsorship partners to ensure rental utilization.